They were once America's sweethearts, a power couple adored by millions. Ethan Cole, a critically acclaimed director known for his gritty storytelling, and Ava Sinclair, the glamorous A-list actress who could light up any screen. Their romance had once been the stuff of headlines and hashtags. Red carpets, award show kisses, magazine covers. Their love story seemed picture-perfect. But behind the flashbulbs and the fairy tales, a storm had been brewing. And when it finally exploded, it did so live, in front of the world, in what became the most heated divorce trial ever televised. Welcome to the Verdict Diaries. If you're fascinated by courtroom drama, real emotional battles, and legal twists that redefine relationships, you're in the right place. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss tomorrow's explosive episode. Now let's begin. The couple had met on the set of an award-winning indie film. Ethan had cast Ava in the lead role, praising her raw power and timeless beauty. Sparks flew quickly, and it wasn't long before their on-screen chemistry became real-life romance. They were married in a private but extravagant ceremony in Italy, with guests ranging from Hollywood royalty to international dignitaries. From the outside, they were untouchable. But fame has a way of amplifying everything: passion, pressure, and ultimately, problems. The first cracks started to show 3 years into their marriage. Ethan's growing success as a director led him to more intense, darker projects and longer shoots overseas. Ava, meanwhile, wanted to slow down and start a family. The emotional distance grew, but neither was ready to admit it. After all, their brand was built on being perfect together. Behind closed doors, arguments turned into shouting matches. They disagreed on everything: money, roles, even Ava's decision to start a production company. Ethan saw it as a threat. She saw it as independence. By the 5th year of marriage, tabloids were already speculating trouble. Photos of Ethan at late-night parties without Ava began circulating. Anonymous sources claimed affairs. Ava's PR team worked overtime to maintain her image, while Ethan's team stayed silent. Then came the announcement: Ethan and Ava were divorcing. At first, it seemed like a typical high-profile separation: statements of mutual respect, requests for privacy, and speculation by entertainment shows. But things took a turn when Ava filed a motion to air the entire court proceedings publicly. Her reasoning? Transparency. She claimed Ethan had manipulated the press, and she wanted the truth exposed. The judge hesitated, but ultimately approved partial public broadcast, given the couple's public profile and the media's massive interest. That decision would change everything. As the trial began, millions tuned in. Networks covered it like a major sporting event. TikToks analyzed every gesture. Memes exploded across social media. Hashtags trended daily. Team Ava, Ethan exposed, divorce drama live day. One of the trial opened with Ethan's legal team claiming Ava was orchestrating the entire spectacle for attention and leverage. They painted her as controlling, obsessed with image, and emotionally unstable. But Ava came prepared. Her team produced a series of private emails, texts, and voicemails. In one message, Ethan had written, "You're only famous because of me." The courtroom gasped when the audio played. Ethan's face turned pale. Ava remained composed. She took the stand early, detailing the emotional abuse, the gaslighting, and the double standards she endured. "I wasn't just fighting for love. I was fighting to be seen." The public's response was immediate. Sympathy surged for Ava. Her follower count skyrocketed. Late-night shows joked about Ethan's texts. Opinion columns dissected every claim, but Ethan wasn't going down without a fight. In Next, we'll dive into the shocking counters he launched, the surprise witnesses he brought in, and the moment that turned the tide of the trial. Make sure to subscribe to the Verdict Diaries and come back tomorrow for the next emotional chapter of the most explosive courtroom drama Hollywood has ever seen. The courtroom was now fully engulfed in a media storm. Every day, lines wrapped around the courthouse as fans, reporters, and curious onlookers hoped to catch a glimpse of the drama unfolding inside. Ava's emotional testimony had shifted the public narrative, and Ethan's team knew they had to respond decisively. The next morning, Ethan arrived in court, flanked by his legal team and a surprise witness, Melissa Hart, a former personal assistant to Ava. Melissa had remained silent for years, but now took the stand, alleging that Ava had manipulated the press and exaggerated the emotional abuse claims to gain public favor. Melissa testified, "I witnessed Ava rehearsing emotional lines in front of a mirror. She practiced crying on cue. It was all part of an image." The courtroom fell into a stunned silence. Ethan's lawyers then produced emails and calendar entries suggesting Ava had worked with a crisis PR firm months before the divorce was even filed. Ethan's team argued this proved premeditation, that the trial was never about truth, but narrative control. Social media exploded. Fake tears and manipulated trial began trending. Ava's team quickly pushed back, claiming Melissa was a disgruntled ex-employee with an axe to grind. Ava refused to be rattled. She returned to the stand the next day, directly addressing Melissa's claims. "Yes, I hired a PR firm because I knew what was coming. I knew he would try to make me look unstable. I wasn't rehearsing emotions. I was preparing to survive." Ethan's team then played video clips of Ava at after-parties, laughing and enjoying herself just days after key incidents she described as abusive. The goal was clear: to paint her as dishonest and attention-seeking. But the public wasn't so easily swayed. Many pointed out the double standards women face when expressing emotions. Then came the most unexpected moment of the trial: the financial bombshell. Ava's forensic accountant revealed that Ethan had quietly funneled over $3 million into offshore accounts under shell corporations during their marriage, money that should have been disclosed during divorce proceedings. Ethan's face dropped. His lawyer scrambled to object, but the damage was done. The courtroom shifted. Suddenly, Ava's claims of being gaslighted and manipulated didn't seem so exaggerated. Ethan's reputation as the brilliant but brooding genius was now being challenged by cold, hard facts. In the days that followed, the trial grew even more emotionally charged. Witnesses close to both parties were called. Former co-stars, directors, friends, and even Ava's estranged sister. Each brought their own pieces of the puzzle. We learned that Ethan had a pattern: controlling behavior, bursts of anger, professional jealousy. Meanwhile, Ava's need for validation and public support stemmed from years of emotional neglect and abandonment. By the end of week 3, the courtroom resembled a battlefield more than a place of law. The public was split. Some still supported Ethan, citing the potential for manipulation. Others saw Ava as a symbol of strength, someone finally exposing the dark side of celebrity marriages. The judge, clearly exhausted by the intensity of the trial, ordered a brief recess. But it was during this break that the next twist surfaced: a leaked recording. An anonymous source released a private conversation between Ethan and one of his producers. In the tape, Ethan is heard saying, "If she wants war, I'll give her the kind of drama she can't act her way out of." The tape aired on national news within hours. Ava's attorneys immediately filed a motion to admit it as evidence. Ethan's team fought back, calling it illegally obtained. The judge ruled the tape admissible. Public opinion flipped again. Now we'll explore how this recording changed the entire trajectory of the trial and led to one of the most powerful closing weeks in courtroom history. Subscribe now to the Verdict Diaries so you don't miss what happens next in this unforgettable legal showdown. The court reconvened under a thick cloud of tension. The leaked recording had become the turning point that no one saw coming. The audio wasn't just damning, it was a glimpse into Ethan's mindset, exposing a calculated effort to turn the trial into a spectacle on his terms. And the world was watching. As journalists camped outside the courthouse, Ethan's legal team scrambled to recover. They claimed the tape had been manipulated, edited out of context. But forensic audio experts brought in by Ava's side confirmed its authenticity. When Ava returned to the stand, her demeanor had shifted. No longer simply defending herself, she now took on the role of a truth-teller, someone speaking on behalf of countless women in similar situations. "This isn't just about me anymore," she said, her voice firm. "It's about the truth that often gets buried behind charm, power, and media manipulation." Her words hit like a thunderclap. The courtroom was silent. The judge nodded slightly, acknowledging the weight of her testimony. Meanwhile, Ethan's image was crumbling. More damaging messages surfaced. Leaked texts, emails, and even call logs suggested Ethan had been in contact with gossip columnists during the marriage, feeding them stories to subtly control the public narrative. Ava's attorneys argued that Ethan had weaponized the media against her long before the divorce filing. Every headline, every rumor, every suspicious photo, part of a broader strategy to undermine Ava's credibility. But Ethan wasn't finished yet. His final defense was a character witness, a longtime friend and award-winning actor who had known Ethan for decades. On the stand, he described Ethan as a deeply passionate, occasionally misunderstood man who had lost himself in the spotlight. "He's not a monster, he's human," the actor said, visibly emotional. "And fame. Fame changes people." The testimony earned sympathy from some. But then Ava's lawyers dropped one final revelation: a prenup clause Ethan had tried to enforce quietly before the divorce was finalized, an amendment that would significantly reduce Ava's share of assets if she ever spoke negatively about him in public. Ava's lawyer called it a gag clause. Ethan claimed it was meant to protect their privacy. But in light of the leaked audio and mounting evidence, the clause painted a more sinister picture. The judge called for closing arguments. Ava's lawyer, a seasoned litigator with a calm, surgical style, summarized the case not just as a marriage gone wrong, but as a war of reputation, control, and survival. "This isn't a story of two celebrities who fell out of love," she said. "It's the story of one person fighting to reclaim her voice, and another fighting to control the narrative. Ethan's team, clearly on the defensive, focused on legacy. Don't let one bad moment erase years of artistry, love, and success, they pleaded. Ethan is flawed, but he's not malicious. The judge retired for deliberation. Outside, fans clashed on social media. TikTokers reenacted trial moments. YouTubers broke down courtroom body language. Hashtags like Number Justice for Ava and Number Ethan Unmasked dominated feeds. And then, after 3 days of deliberation, the court was back in session. Everyone held their breath as the judge entered the room. Now we'll reveal the verdict, the public's reaction, and how this trial changed the way we view celebrity, power, and the legal system forever. Make sure you're subscribed to the Verdict Diaries for the final emotional chapter of this groundbreaking story. The courtroom was packed to the brim. Cameras were positioned just outside the courthouse, capturing every moment of tension as the final verdict loomed. Ava sat with her hands clasped, her expression calm but determined. Ethan, for the first time in weeks, looked uncertain. The judge began reading the decision. After reviewing the evidence, witness testimonies, and arguments presented by both parties, this court finds in favor of the petitioner, Ava Monroe. The words echoed like a thunderclap. Gasps rang out across the courtroom. Ethan's face went pale. Ava simply closed her eyes, as if finally releasing a breath she had held for years. The ruling awarded Ava a significant share of the marital assets, full rights to intellectual properties they had co-developed, and legal acknowledgement of emotional distress caused during the marriage. The judge condemned the use of media manipulation, private threats, and efforts to silence Ava with the now infamous gag clause. But perhaps the most powerful moment came when the judge added this. This case is not only a testament to the complexity of high-profile divorce, but also a reminder that justice must not be influenced by fame, wealth, or perception. Outside the courthouse, crowds erupted. Supporters of Ava cheered and chanted her name. Hashtags like Now Ava Wins and Indulge Our Truth Prevails flooded social media. Major networks aired the verdict live. Talk shows dissected the trial's key moments. Mental health advocates and women's rights groups applauded the decision. Ethan left quietly, shielding his face from flashing cameras. Within hours, his publicist released a carefully worded statement acknowledging the court's decision and expressing a desire to focus on healing. But the damage to his image was done. Sponsorships were pulled. A planned film project was delayed indefinitely. Fans who once idolized him now questioned his integrity. As for Ava, she emerged from the courtroom not just victorious, but transformed. She wasn't merely a celebrity who survived a divorce. She had become a voice for others, especially women, navigating abuse, manipulation, and trauma within relationships. She sat down for a national interview days later. With poise and strength, She recounted her journey, not to bash Ethan, but to inspire. "My story isn't just about a failed marriage," she said. "It's about reclaiming your truth, no matter how loud the world tries to drown it out." The interview was watched by over 15 million viewers. Ava's story became a documentary. A memoir followed. But more importantly, her trial set a precedent. Legal circles began discussing the ethical implications of PR manipulation during court proceedings. Law schools added the case to their curriculum. Ava's win sparked dialogue across the country about emotional abuse, media bias, and the power imbalance in celebrity relationships. Some say the trial changed Ava. Others say it revealed who she had always been. And what about Ethan? He faded from the limelight, his talent never in doubt, but his legacy forever marred by the choices he made. In the end, it wasn't just a courtroom that decided the outcome. It was truth, patience, and the courage to stand firm in the face of overwhelming opposition. If this story moved you, challenged you, or opened your eyes, we invite you to subscribe to the Verdict Diaries. Every day, we bring you real stories, legal dramas that expose the emotional and human layers often hidden behind the headlines. Because the courtroom isn't just about the law. It's about people. It's about justice. Subscribe now. Join the journey and discover the truth behind the verdicts.